Hey gang, it's hard to believe it has been a year since my last solo session video, and it's been a busy year, but I've definitely missed these, and here's hoping that I can be a little bit more regular going forward. My last few sessions were set in the Old West with a character named Julia Baily, a bounty hunter looking for the man who killed her pa. And Julia has just a smidgen of psychic ability in that the ghost of her father sometimes appears to her in dreams to give her a little bit of direction moving forward. Now, I chose Old West as a challenge to myself. My forte is horror, a little science fiction, and I've never really run Old West, which I found more difficult to do than I expected, considering the fact that as a child I grew up with pretty much nothing but westerns on TV. There was Maverick, my favorite, Have Gun Will Travel, Wagon Train, Gunsmoke ran for years, of course, Tales of Wells Fargo, Rifleman, and a lot of others. So you'd think I'd be able to run an Old West campaign, but I stalled out. This year, I think I have a tool for keeping me on track and spawning some ideas when I start to stall. And to show you that, let's go to my desktop, which means shrinking this headshot down into an upper corner and turning on the other camera. Now you can see my setup is really minimalistic. It's a small footprint. I work on a corner table in my study, and of course there's a PC and a monitor and speakers and pencils and some toys. So I don't have a lot of room, and I don't have a lot of room to get this on a camera. Obviously I don't have a studio. This I think is probably closer to what you might have at home. So got this dice tray. If you're like me, you tend to get excited rolling dice and run something off the table. This keeps me from doing it, and it stores dice in the ring around the outside. This thing is made by a company called Tiny Gremlin, and I just absolutely love it. But we can get these big honkin' yellow dice out of here for now. These are Dungeon Crawl Classics, odd D7s, D14s, and so on. And I do plan on doing some Dungeon Crawl Classic solo adventures in the future using published adventures. So, briefly on that. Normally, when you're running a solo adventure, you have a character designed and you're using an oracle of some sort to generate the story. My favorite oracle, as you know, is the Game Master's Apprentice. But there are lots of other great ones, things that I'll use for a change of pace from time to time. When you're running a published adventure, of course, you already know all of the secrets of what's going to happen, what's there, where the traps are, and the treasure, and so on. So how do you decide what your character's going to do with no surprises? And in that case, you use the Oracle deck to make decisions for your characters when you're not sure exactly whether they'd check to see if there's a trap in this room, for example. So, speaking of this oracle, what I'm going to be using this year is a set of cards called Handy Quest, and they are used for running an adventure holding a deck in one hand and a pencil in the other. Eric Miller designed this thing for use on an airplane or train or whatever else when you don't have space to be lying things down. So you have your Bookmark No HP RPG character sheet in this hand with the Handy Quest rules and the Game Master's Apprentice deck, which takes care of everything else from events and locations and odds to this dice wheel, so you don't actually need any dice. And it works really great. You can even stop in the middle, put the deck back in your pocket or case or whatever, and pick up where you left off again. I normally use a pencil and eraser are here for the sake of the camera and you being able to see. I'm using a pen today. So last year I promised that I was going to do some combat demonstrations, and besides the common foes that are covered in the core rules, I'm also going to show you how to do mobs of minor foes and tough major foes. Those are things that are explained on the game host's guide bookmark. So let's get started with common foe, which I've decided Julia is going to meet a grizzly bear. And I'm setting its ability at a D8. Let's make it a D10. This thing is a grizzly bear. It should be pretty tough. The difficulty in fighting this thing, I will set at an 8. So that's Julia's combat difficulty. Julia, as a human character, would normally be about a difficulty 4 for the grizzly bear. She's been around and she's a hero. So for heroes, I tend to give them a difficulty of 5. And of course her dice are listed here on the character sheet. So let's set the scene. I'm imagining that Julia, in her pursuit of her father's murderer, is on the lower slopes of a mountain right now. She's above the line of deciduous trees and into pines, but still low enough that the pines are too thick to see very far ahead, and the pine needles underfoot make footfalls soft, so she doesn't know the bear is up ahead, and it doesn't know that she is down here. Normally, I would give her some chance to evade the bear, or the bear some chance to wander off, but I want to do a combat demo, so I'm forcing them to meet each other. I think it would be fun if Julia's father tries to warn her. Now, the trouble is that this is broad daylight, and she's on alert as she's traveling through this area she's never been before. So it's going to be really difficult for him to succeed, and that I am going to call a difficulty 10. Maximum possible. Normally I make this roll using her will, so I'm going to let her father use that attribute to try to contact her, and we won't punish her for failure or give her any benefit for maximum success. So I need to roll 10. I have 5 d12s, so I'm going to be rolling these twice, and let's see what happens. Okay, so far it's a success with a high of 8. That high number can just affect the flavor of how you role play. And there's a failure, still up high of 9. So he has failed to contact her. 9 out of 12, I'm going to say that it's enough for her to get kind of a hinky feeling that there's something up ahead. So she slips down off of her pony and begins creeping forward through the pine trees to find out what it is that's given her this uneasy feeling. Can she spot the bear before it spots her? Well, let's go ahead and use that difficulty 8 for that as well. And I'm still going to use her will because it's taking some bravery for her to move forward in this unknown territory. So an 8, I will roll 4 dice twice, and I'm not going to gamble anything yet. Ugh. You know, as a player, I know how difficult this thing is that's coming up, so I am going to gamble her bounty hunter reputation or confidence in herself to take that difficulty down to a 4. Can she sneak up on the bear? And success, high 10. So yes, she is very quiet, gets down, crouched down on her knees and peers forward, moves forward, and sure enough, there in a little bit of an opening is this grizzly bear, and it looks just angry as heck. She knows she can't get past it. She doesn't want it to eat her pony, so all that's left is to fight it. So she stands up and cocks her rifle, and we'll have her take a shot again using Will D12 and still risking that bounty hunter confidence. And I have a success, high 11 for Julia. So this is the way I record that. The bear is rolling d10s and it needs 5 because of her difficulty 5. And in its case, I have a failure, high 6. So that's how I record that this turn. So these things are happening simultaneously. Well, it failed, which is going to drop its d10 to an 8. But it's also lowest high die at the table, and that is an extra step of damage. So its ability is down to a d6. I hope that's not too small for you to see. If it is, trust me. So from a 10 to a 6, and Julia got that 11. So in role-playing terms, man, she just, without even a quake of fear, sighted down that rifle as the bear came charging toward her, and pow! She hit it. Let's think where it would be. It didn't kill it outright. Let's just say it hit it in the scalp, didn't penetrate, but stunned the thing and gave it a moment's pause. Next turn, Julia is still at 12s, and she's been doing pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and gamble that vocation again. And ouch, she got a fail. High 9. So close, but no cigar. So I'm going to check off this bounty hunter vocation. It's been used. She can't gamble that. And her will is down to a 10 now. Ouch. Let's see how the bear does with 6s. 5 6s. Get Julie out of the way. And the bear got a fail, high 6. Just like last time. Well, it's low at the table, so you know what's going to happen. First, the fail is going to drop it from a 6 down to a 4, and then being the low at the table is going to drop it from a 4 down to a 0. So, Julia's second shot ends up killing the thing. In this case, I think the bullet went right in through its eye, into its brain, but she also took some damage from it. So, I'm imagining that as she aimed and fired, it was rushing forward and actually slammed into her, pushed her back against a pine tree, and knocked her off her feet. Let's say she's limping from this damage. So there you go. That's a battle against a common foe. It started out that it was much more difficult for her to hit than she was for it. But with common foes, they have only the one die to drop down, whereas Julia has multiple to spend. So she's got more lasting power. Okay, let's go to the next type of combat, and I'm not even going to let Julia heal up for this. So we can put these 12s away because she's down to a 10 as her highest attribute. And we can put the 6s away because the bear's dead. And what I'm having her run up against next is a band of outlaws lying in ambush waiting for her. I'm going to give them a D8 ability each. And they're normal humans, so I'm just going to say they're a difficulty 4 for her to hit. Alright, time to get some 8-siders out. I forgot to mention there are 5 of these bandits. I have 5 sets of dice. So that's how many there are for convenience. The way minor foe combat works, Julia's still at a 5, is each minor foe rolls only 1 die. If the result is equal to or above the difficulty of what they're fighting, then it's neither a gain nor loss for them. If it's less than that difficulty, then they've taken a step of damage and are going to drop 1. If it's a 1, they flat out die, and if it is a maximum, they actually will increase their die size. With minor foes, I don't even need to keep track of anything on the paper over here, just Julia's stats as they go up and down, assuming they do. So it's always more convenient to roll hers first for marking up on the sheet. So let's see if they catch her off guard. They're lying in ambush. Julia is wounded but still trying to stay alert, so she's still using that will to force herself forward bravely. I'm glad the pen didn't roll completely off screen. And we'll go ahead and use their difficulty of 4. So, oh no, I got a fail high 9 for Julia. And you know what that means. Her will of 10 is down to an 8. So they caught her off guard on this first turn. Now we go into full combat as they come rushing out to her. Let's roll her again, and in this case, you know what? I think she's going to go ahead and use her wits of 8 rather than her damaged will of 8. So let's roll for Julia. As the bandits come rushing out, she got a success high 8. And now you'll see why I chose to use her wits instead of her will. Because the die size increases, which would mean that her will would recover from an 8 to a 10, but in this case, her 8 wits rises to a D10, and that's its new permanent value. This is how this game handles experience. So, caught off guard, Julia nonetheless slips off her pony, drawing her rifle from its saddle holster at the same moment and putting her poor pony between her and the bandits. Let's see how they roll this turn. I might give her an advantage for the pony, depending on what happens. Okay, well, these 2 did not meet the difficulty number. These 3 did, so they stay the same. These 2 are going to drop a size, and she's got a success 8. Lowest dice at the table are these 2s, so they're going to drop again. So from an 8 down to a 6, and again down to a 4. So let's get 4s out here for these 2 bandits. And I like the idea of her rifle grazing one, sort of spinning him around, not quite to the ground, and the other one gets too close and her pony bites it. That's the way we will describe this damage. Next turn, Julia is using her wits as her high die. And given that increase, I'm going to say yes, she's using the pony for some extra cover, which is going to raise their difficulty from a 5, or normal, to a 6, which means these 2 have no chance of succeeding. If they manage to roll a 4, I'm going to say that they run away to fight another day. So let's roll for Julia. 4 d10s. And what do I have? Success, high 9. Right there. And for the bandits, Well, I can guarantee you none of them are going to hit a 9, so we don't have to worry about her being low, high die at the table. And this one got a 2, did not get away. This one got a 1, immediately out of the fight. These two did not meet the difficulty number of 6, so they're going to drop 1 step for that. This one stays the same. These are going to drop. These both have a 2, so they are low, high die at the table. So this one not only didn't get away, but drops a level. That one is dead. This one not only didn't succeed, but low die at the table, so it goes down 2 from an 8 to a 6 to a 4. This one didn't meet the difficulty, so it goes from an 8 down 1 step to a 6, and here's what's left of our bandits. One barely standing, one that has taken a wound, and one that's dead. So in story terms, Julia has taken 2 quick shots, flat out killing the one and dropping the other to his knees momentarily. And as this one got close, she goaded her horse into kicking and managed to clip him a little bit as well. Next turn. Let's hope things continue going well for Julia. For the heck of it, I like the idea of using her will this time. She's regaining some courage. So let's do that and roll d8s for her. Move these bandits out of the way. And success, high 5. Roll for the bandits. Okay, this one didn't make the difficulty number of 6, obviously, and didn't roll a 4, so didn't manage to get away, so that one's going to be out of the fighting. These both did exactly meet the difficulty number, and this one is the maximum on a d6, so it's going to go up, back up to a d8. So I think, let's say Julia clubbed this one in the face, but this one has managed to sneak around behind her and is feeling more confident. So once more, Julia needs to roll 4 dice. Difficulty of 4. And I risked too much. I've got a fail high 8. So Julia's willpower has taken another reduction down to a 6. Now the 2 bandits, as they're working their way around her pony. And forgive the dogs barking in the background. I hope they don't get too loud. Okay, so these both rolled below the difficulty number, so they're both going to drop a step, and this one's lowest at the table, so it's going to drop 2 steps. So this guy's down to a 6. This guy's down to a 4. Julia is no fool, so we'll switch her back to her wits for this next turn. And I can put these 8s away. I like the idea of them rounding her horse. They're coming at her from 2 sides. She drops her rifle for close quarters combat and draws a Bowie knife. And I think she cracked this guy in the face with her rifle butt and then gave this guy a real slash with her Bowie knife. Both of them, I think, would try to run away at this point. So, let's say if they roll a 4 or better, she lets them go. Well, one of them, hate to be gruesome, but she's slashed his throat with that Bowie knife, and he staggers back, trying not to die, but the handwriting's on the wall for him. This one did not manage to get its maximum, so he didn't get away either. He's going to drop a level, and he's the lowest remaining at the table, so he'd drop another one. So she spins on her heel and slashes again with the Bowie knife right across his belly, and he stumbles into the dust, trying to hold his innards in. But did they manage to hit Julia? Did she take any damage this round? And I have a success, high 9, so she did not. She spun out of that double hit move, crouched low in kind of a martial arts pose, and it's time for her to loot the bodies and continue on her way. Wow, with that damaged will, I think she's looking for some place to hole up. And that's where we'll pick up next time, when we do the major foe combat. She's in no shape to be meeting another bear, let alone a major foe. Hey, I hope you've had some fun with this. I certainly have, and I appreciate your time. I will see you next time with the Adventures of Julia Baily, Bounty Hunter. Cheers.